Just a little background because most people know, but for those that don't, I want people to tune into this, what the Wayne County Board of Commissioners is, who we are, what we do, to better understand everything else we talk about in the next few minutes. In Pennsylvania, most counties are run by a three-person board of commissioners, and each 4 years, we are all up for reelection at the same time. So they don't stagger that. I was first elected 4 years ago. I was by 10 votes, Patricio. So when we talk about your vote being important and really mattering, certainly in these local races, it truly does. So I have never forgotten for 1 minute that I only won by 10 votes. But when I was campaigning 4 years ago, I had a lot of ideas about what I wanted to do in this job and what I thought it could be. And I am still learning. The learning curve is intense, but it's fascinating. And every time you think you have your handle on something, there's more that you can do and get involved in. And that's entirely up to the individual. How much do you want to be involved in? If you just want to do the basics, that's one thing. If you really want to work towards, I call it economic growth, but smart economic growth, not just any kind of growth, but the stuff that's best suited for us here in Wayne County. The more you want to be involved in that, the more you're doing, the more you're learning. So it is a job that to simply answer your question, I love the job, Patricio. I absolutely love it. I thought I would. I love being here. I love working with my fellow commissioners. We oversee a staff of nearly 500 people. I've grown to learn so much more about what they do and know them. And gosh, we have a good team here. There's so much more that can be done. You're just getting warmed up in 4 years, to be honest. So projects that are state or federally funded can take years. And so a lot of the things that I've been working on for the last 4 years have been in place prior to that. So now I'm here. I've lent my assistance, my vision, and I want to be a part of future projects and everything that we've been working on as well. So in a nutshell, I do love the job. There's a lot more that can be done. My vision for the future, just simply put, as managers of Wayne County, our budget, our county programs and services, I always say county government is like community government. We take care of our community in ways sometimes that people aren't even aware of, right? We've got access to the court system. You've got a 911 system. We've got a correctional facility. We've got human services. It goes on and on. I don't want to leave anybody out. But to take care of the people that do these jobs, to run these programs and services, to do it as efficiently as we can while best serving the needs of Wayne County. And the needs have changed. They've changed dramatically in the last 4 years, in my opinion, because of the pandemic. So you can't just keep doing the same thing you were always doing. My vision for the future is to continue to adapt and pivot where our needs are changing. We have to continue to serve those needs and to measure them and make sure we're addressing them. I think we're going to get to this in a couple other questions here, but I'll talk about that more when you ask me about workforce and that kind of thing and taking care of people here. That's all kind of wrapped up in our recovery to work ecosystem. So that's certainly a vision I have. You want to work on projects that really get to the source of the issue, not just Band-Aids. So there's quite a bit of that happening, and I really want to be around to see some of that through.
So one of the concerns I heard from folks in Wayne County is the increase in taxes. So how do you plan to address the concerns of homeowners, renters, and business owners who have experienced a sudden increase in taxes during this period we're having of high inflation?
That's a great question, Patricio. I would say that taxes are most people's top concerns. And I do want to clarify because wherever you live in Wayne County, you're subject to three different taxes. Your municipality, which is the borough or the township that you live in, the county, and the school district. So I will specifically talk about county taxes. And most people, again, just so people are aware, in Wayne County, you get two tax bills through the year. You get one in the spring, and that is your county tax bill and your municipality tax bill. That is generally the lesser of the two. And in the fall, you get a school tax bill, and that's generally higher. We did a tax reassessment here in Wayne County in the last couple of years. It took several years. It was several years in the making. It had been approved even prior to my being here. But as a new commissioner, I saw exactly why they wanted to do a reassessment. A lot of the market has changed so much since our last county reassessment in 2004. And that change wasn't capturing new construction, people that were coming into Wayne County and not paying their fair share of taxes. So we saw that time and time again. And no, these are difficult things to do and talk about and communicate effectively about. But the truth was, anytime you had new construction come on the tax roll, it had to be valued at the same year levels as your prior tax reassessment, countywide tax reassessment. That was 2004. So you had a lot of high-end homes being constructed that were being valued at 2004 levels, whether they were coming on the tax roll in 2005, 6, 7, 8, 9, 20, 21, right? So they were, in my opinion, not paying their fair share of taxes. In the meantime, you have a lot of people in Wayne County that were on fixed incomes, that were in markets that didn't appreciate as quickly as others, and they were paying more than their fair share. So the reassessment went out and it just valued everybody again at the same point in time. It had been decided prior to COVID that we would do this. When COVID hit, certainly our real estate market really did jump up. And so that added to the concern that people had. However, what we wanted. Property was valued all at the same time. I think it was more fair. Yes, a lot of people's taxes went up. I would say about 38% of the people's taxes went down, Patricio, and were properly adjusted. We at the county work very hard all year long to make sure we're staying within our budget, and we try not to do any kind of tax increase. We're talking about that right now because this is budget season. And voters and residents are frustrated because taxes only seem to go up. And it's a hard message to make people understand that costs go up even for the county, right? And wages are going to drive our budget probably in the near future. But we are working very hard to have no tax increase this year. That is my prediction. Please don't hold me to it. We're not finished with these conversations. But that's our goal. Our goal is to not raise taxes at all for people. And if we can't manage our budget within that, what can we cut and still take good care of our people? So that's where we are. We have the ability to raise taxes any year. And we have done that out of the past 15 years. Myself and prior commissioners, have only raised taxes at the county level 4 or 5 times in the last 15 years, slight increases. So we try to do as best we can by the taxpayer here in Wayne County.
So I saw the statistic, and it was staggering to hear the statistic that PA has lost 32% of the workforce to addiction and mental health crisis. Given the significant workforce losses to addiction and mental health crisis in PA, how do you plan to ensure that affordable treatment and mental health services become more accessible in Wayne County? And what outcomes do you hope to achieve with the Recovery to Work project?
Another great question, Patricio. Thank you. So prior to my being a commissioner, there was a recovery to work ecosystem already in progress. And it's something that I support fully and that we desperately need. And what that is your conventional rehab treatment for most people. The success rates they are what they are, right? In my opinion, they're lower than they can be. And it can often take multiple attempts at recovery to really return someone healthy, happy to their families, to the workplace. So, what would increase that success rate? We certainly believe that a campus of services that are intermingled. So, you have your drug and alcohol treatment along with mental health services to really help someone recover. And then add to that a workforce component that helps train them for new skills or improve their existing skills because the whole world is changing in terms of workforce, right? So, in Northeastern Pennsylvania in general, these services are lacking. Drug and alcohol services are lacking, mental health services are lacking, and COVID has only heightened that. We as a county have a responsibility to provide these services, to coordinate these services for people. So if someone's struggling, we've got to help them. And very often our caseworkers are driving halfway across the state, all the way across the state to get these services for somebody. So they're recovering far from home. That means their support system isn't there for them. We had envisioned a campus of services somewhere in the Waymart area, just because that would help us serve all the other counties that are also in need of these services, not just Wayne County, but 6 or 7 other counties. And we think that this will help people, again, recover and return to work. The 32% statistic, when I first heard that, it floored me to hear it spoken out loud, to be honest with you. But I'd already felt it. We here in the county, since the pandemic, all the businesses that we've talked to, every single one of them, the challenges that we have hiring people right now. And right before COVID was that whole transition into a gig economy that was something that was hard to explain to people that have gone to work for the same company their whole lives, especially if it provided a pension. So the workforce is in transition to begin with. But if people are if people are able to get affordable help that they need in their own community, we need these folks. We need them in the workforce desperately here. And there's a lot of opportunity right here in Wayne County that wasn't here 10, 12 years ago, Patricio. So I think those things are really important. We've got to take care of our people. I think that this campus, we have been working on grants for this service. We've raised all $10 million already for this. So there's a lot of potential here so that we can help bring providers here so that they can provide these services for people. And we continue to work on that. We've had to pivot several times because we've changed location ideas just because we had a lease with the state at one point and that fell through at the last minute. It's a lot of planning, but we've got a really good team here that's committed to this, that we want to work through it. And I would absolutely love to see this happen. It's hard to talk about these things. I truly believe that every family in Wayne County is dealing with this issue on some level. Someone they love is struggling. And it's unacceptable at this point. There's 100 reasons why we got here. It's unacceptable. And I think that you see it when you see people's hopes lost, their joy is lost. This is something we can do to fix this. And I'd really love to see that happen.
Another effect of the pandemic is the need for high speed internet. The pandemic has really shown the importance, how important that is. Can you speak on the strategy for expanding broadband access in areas of Wayne County that currently lack this crucial infrastructure? And how do you plan to utilize available federal funds to achieve this goal?
I can talk about this because we spent a lot of time on this, Patricio. And as you might know, because we've talked to WJFF about it a lot too, we've had broadband issues in Wayne County ever since there's been broadband, right? So most people had inadequate service, and that's it. We've got an unusual topography, even for other Pennsylvania counties. It's so difficult to lay fiber in this county and expensive. It's really the key word. It's so expensive to run it. So just not having good broadband services was the norm for a while. But then COVID came, right? And now we're at a disadvantage. We can't educate our kids like other communities can. We can't allow people remote work so that programs and services can continue because people don't. When I say they don't have great broadband, they don't have broadband in a lot of places, right? In the first year that I was a commissioner in 2020, there was some federal money for federal cares, and it specifically for broadband for rural communities was one of the uses for that money. And we used about 25% of our federal cares money for broadband because the need for it was, again, heightened during the pandemic. What we were allowed to do with those monies was fund projects that could be completed within a 6-month period. So all of it, we worked with our internet service providers, our ISPs. What do you got? What can you do in 6 months? And boom, we paid for it. And that did get a lot more people access. But the issue is a lot larger than that. In 2021, there was additional funding from federal administration called ARPA money, the American Rescue Plan Act. And again, we were going to commit some of our money for broadband for that. As we worked on our strategy for that and to fund it, we then learned that the state was going to provide $200 million to counties, not each, but overall, right, in the form of a grant. We pivoted and applied our why spend any of that money if the state was going to fund broadband. We like having a rainy day fund, Patricio. So when we found out how much money was coming down through the state, we pivoted. We put forth an application. The state wanted to make sure they were going to fund unserved and underserved locations. So again, we worked with our internet service providers. We had many conversations with them. What could get us the farthest with as little money as possible? So the county put together an application. We've partnered with several ISPs. In addition to that, some other large providers put in their own grants. Those decisions are going to be made in the next couple of months. And we'll see progress starting on that in 2024. Beyond that, as you mentioned, there's a whole round of federal funding coming in the form of BEAD funding. It's broadband equitability and affordability is what it stands for. So wherever we don't get in round one with the state funding, we'd like to continue to achieve that with once we get people served, then we want to work on the affordability aspect of it. So I have very high expectations that Wayne County will be at a completely different level within the next 2 years.
In what ways would you engage the community to ensure that the vision of Wayne County as a great place to work, to raise children with a strong vocational education and well paying jobs become an actual reality?
Patricia, this is another great question. And I think my answer to that would be I'd like to continue to do some of the things that are already in place. One is our Wayne Tomorrow initiative. And for any of your listeners that don't know what that is, 10 years ago, the then Board of Wayne County Commissioners launched a community effort to bring community stakeholders to the table to work together to improve quality of life here in Wayne County and economic opportunities. That group still meets on the first Friday of every single month. It has for over 10 years. Some of the players come and go, but a lot of the nonprofits are represented. Our Wayne County Community Foundation is at the table, the hospital's at the table. Often our school districts are there. We'd love more business representation, but they are meetings. And by having that group come together, each one of them, I feel like are great ambassadors for the county. They've got a better understanding of what's going on here locally. They get questions answered directly from us, and we can help them. So, continuing that initiative by far is a top priority. It's one of the reasons I feel like I am a county commissioner because I got involved in Wayne Tomorrow years and years ago when I was the executive director of an environmental group. And it is what my appetite, so to speak, for doing this job. I would most definitely continue that initiative and lean on that group for advice, for, like I said, being ambassadors for our region. The other thing is, we county commissioners are extremely approachable, visible. We're at everything, whether it's a Rotary event or a chamber dinner or things like that. And it's so important to communicate to people regularly and make sure that they know what's happening and they can ask questions directly of you. And that when you have news to share, you can share it with a broad group of people. I feel that is so important. You need to have a relationship with the people you vote for. I really believe that. And here in Wayne County, it's a small rural county. We can do that. I'd absolutely continue doing that. Communication, communication. And this is the business that you're in. You know how important that is to getting good information out there and dispelling myths when you need to. Talking about taxes is really important. And I'm glad you asked one of your questions about that today, because through the reassessment, I found there was so much misinformation out there, and it was our job and our responsibility to make sure we give good information, correct that information, and ease people's concerns where we can. So I would just double down on all the communication efforts and continue to work within the Wayne Tomorrow network that we have grown to really rely on.
So, the last question, Jocelyn, come November 7th, when voters go to the polls, why should folks vote for you and reelect you?
So that is an excellent question. Patricia, I'm going to continue to do what I've done for the last few years, which is I show up every single day. I work very hard. I enjoy the work. And I am incredibly open minded and respectful. So it doesn't matter why you're here. If you're a constituent with a question, if you're a fellow commissioner, if you look at the world in a completely different way than I do, I will respect you. I will learn from you, hopefully. And I just think that's important. That is, I have a lot of energy. I love to do as much as I can, and I will continue to do that. I will be honest, I will be transparent. Again, continue to do just what I have been doing these last 4 years. But really, the benefit from being here in these past few years during COVID to really laser focus on some of these projects, Patricio, so that they do not linger. These grant funded projects can really linger. I really want to drive them home. And that takes a lot of in depth knowledge of the process, the experience, the hurdles that come with state and federal grant funding. But I really want to be a part of making those things happen.
We're talking to Jocelyn Cramer, who's seeking re-election for the Board of Commissioners for Wayne County. Thank you so much for talking to us and letting us know your thoughts on the issues facing Wayne County voters this election season.
Patricio, thank you. I appreciate the time very much. I do want to remind people to please, please vote. It's so important. And if you've requested a mail-in ballot, please be sure to vote it and return it because we have quite a significant number of outstanding ballots right now. Don't let it sit around on your counter like I know can happen at my house. And thank you for your time. Thank you to WJFF for giving us this opportunity. Appreciate it very much.